Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to day 5 of my Halloween movie review series. And today I'm going to be discussing Friday the 13th, Part 5, The New Beginning. That's right, let's give this a big facepalm because this sucks. I'll just be honest. This is not a good movie. Um, I do gotta say, though, I guess it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's been 6 years, a little over 6 years since I've seen this movie, and it's bad, but I don't think it's the worst in the franchise. But I don't think it's all that good either. This isn't nearly the worst film in the franchise, but I still don't think it's all that good. But I guess it's not as bad as I remember it being. But let me read over the info that's on the movie. They thought Jason was dead. They thought he was gone for good. But it turns out they're all wrong. Dead wrong. Homicidal maniac Jason returns from the grave to cause more bloody mayhem in Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. The deluxe edition, so this has other stuff on it as well. Young Tommy Jarvis may have escaped from Crystal Lake, but he's still haunted by the gruesome events that happened there. When gory murders start happening at the secluded halfway house for troubled teens where he lives now, it seems like his nightmarish um, nemesis, Jason Voorhees, is back for more sadistic slaughters. But as things spiral out of control and the body count rises, Tommy begins to wonder if he's becoming the killer he fears most. The witness the true hope, the sorry, witness the true terror as Tommy and Jason battle once more in the tingling descent into death and madness. Yeah, let's talk about the film. Originally, this wasn't even going to be a Friday the 13th sequel. They, you know, they had cast a lot of people under a fake title called Repetition, and I think a lot of people got pissed when they found out this was a Friday the 13th sequel, um, as they should have been. Um, and yeah, um, what, that's pretty much all I have to say about the history. People are disappointed that because John Shepard, who plays Tommy Jarvis in this movie, spent several months volunteering at a state mental hospital to prepare for this role, and was really disappointed that was Repetition was actually the fifth entry in the Friday the 13th series. Um, and then actor Dick Wayden stated, this is what he said: "It wasn't until I saw Part 5 that I realized what a piece of trash it was. I mean, I knew the series' reputation, but you're always hoping that yours is going to come out better." And then I don't know, director Danny Steinman stated that he shot a fucking porno in the woods there. You wouldn't believe the nudity they cut out. Um, and Corey Feldman only made a cameo appearance in this movie because he was shooting the Goonies as well, and he shot the opening scene on his off schedule, um, outside of his family's home in Los Angeles with a rain machine. They even made a new hockey mask for this film with two blue triangles pointing downwards instead of the red ones you normally see. Um, that's pretty much the backstory. Not really much of a backstory, but whatever. Um, let's go over who directed the movie and stuff like that. This movie was directed by Danny Steinman, and it was produced by Timothy Silver. The screenplay was written by um, Mountain Kaido Kitaosa, David Cohen, and Danny Stainham, and the story was written by Mountain Kitaosa and Danny Cohen, and this is based off the work by Victor Miller. The music was done by Harry Manfredini, and the cinematography was done by Stephen L. Posey. It was edited by Bruce Green. The production company was Georgetown Productions Terror Inc., and it was distributed by Paramount Pictures. And this movie was released on March 22nd, 1985. So there you go. And this movie had a $2.2 million budget. And I'm just going to start off by talking about the film itself. The film opens up with young Tommy Jarvis, who goes to the to see the murder of and this is a few years too after the fourth film. I should have mentioned. He goes to Jason Voorhees' grave to make sure that he's dead, and then he hears two grave robbers digging up his grave, and um, Tommy watches this from a distance, and the two grave robbers end up taking out Jason's body, and Jason ends up murdering these kids, and then he goes over to Tommy Jarvis, and he acts like he's gonna kill Tommy Jarvis, but we found out that this was just a dream. It really wasn't Jason. Then so Tommy Jarvis wakes up and he's older now. I believe it's I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's pretty much a teenager. Um, and we find out he's been in he suffered a depressing dramatic trauma, and he's all messed up from the events of the fourth film. And I mean, they only made this film too. I should mention too, because the other one did a lot of money. That's why it really wasn't the final chapter. And he arrives at a camp, and also they've been giving him a ton of medications and stuff like that. And he arrives at his new camp called Pinhurst Halfway House, which is a secluded residential treatment facility. And pretty much at this camp, we meet Pam Roberts and Dr. Matt Letter. And Dr. Matt Letter pretty much says that he pretty much has free range here. This is just to help to get him ready to go into the real world, which I don't really understand why they would I really don't understand why they would give people that have all these mental problems free range, because that's normally not a good thing. Normally not a good thing. And then Tommy goes into his new room, and he starts hating up his clothes, and he ends up hiding a pocket knife under his bed. And then he goes into the closet to put his clothes away, and somebody pops down a rubber spider and scares Tommy, and we find out that that was none other than Reggie. This is a little boy who is visiting because his grandfather works as the cook at the camp, and he meets Tommy and find out Tommy's pretty messed up. And I did like this because this kid's trying to come off as this kid was an awful character for this movie too. This kid comes off like he's not scared of anything, and then Tommy puts on one of his Halloween masks and scares um, Reggie, and um, then he sees Tommy's Halloween masks, and he touches them, but Tommy says, "Don't touch it," and he reveals that he made the mask, and Reggie thinks that it's cool. And then we meet the other kids at the camp. Um, it was um, Robin, Goth, Vi- um, Violet. Sorry, hold on, sorry. We meet Robin, who's a redhead, Violet, who's a goth, Jake, who's pretty shy, because he talks in a stutter when you see him, Vic, which we'll get into Vic, um, and Joey, who's a compulsive eater, and Vic has a short temper. Um, and then we meet two other residents, Eddie and Tina, and we find out that they were having sex on the neighbor's lawn. We meet the neighbors, Ethel, Hubbard, and her son. I don't remember her son's name. Let me see if I can find her son. I believe it was Junior. It just Junior Hubbard. Hubbard, but it doesn't say her name, and she's upset that people at the camp are trans trespassing her property and wants these. She said that she'll cut these campers if she sees them again, and she's yelling at the sheriff. Um, and then she starts. And we find out the sheriff's name is Sheriff Tucker, and she starts yelling at the camper some more, and you know, really yells at him, and says that she wants this camp shut down, and the sheriff tries to calm her down, but then um yells at, but then says that she has a bomb and is willing to get it go off, and is will make it go off if he touches her again, which is really weird because you would never hear somebody say this today because of 9/11 and the Boston bombings and stuff like that. So it's kind of funny to hear it happen in a film. And what ends up happening is you know, Sheriff Tucker just kind of wants Dr. Matthew to keep control of his camp, because he doesn't want um, Ethel to he doesn't want Ethel to kill any of his campers. But this scene was just really bad. Um, Ethel and Ethel and Junior were really bad characters. They were pretty much countrymen, and they were pretty much redneck countrymen who swore every 2 seconds. It was just really bad. Really bad characters in there. And then the next scene transitions. We meet Joey, Joey Burns, and he's really annoying. He's a compulsive eater, and he wants to help Violet and Robin do laundry, but they don't want his help, and he's eating a chocolate bar, and he touches the blanket with it, and he gets chocolate all over the blanket. So they tell him to go away. So then he wants to help Vic, who's chopping firewood, chop the wood, and he gives him a chocolate bar, and Vic doesn't want it. Vic wants him to leave him alone, and he destroys the chocolate bar with an axe. And Joey then is like, "Fine, have it your way, but you provoked this, not me." And he just mouths off at him. And then when he turns around, Vic kills him with the axe, and completely murders Joey, and slaughters him. It was actually a pretty gruesome scene, but it was pretty out of nowhere. So the medics and stuff come up, and we find out Joey was an orphan. We had known this prior to this. Um, his mother ended up passing away. We never heard anything from the father. And one of the paramedics acts all freaked out about this, and acts like he's haunted about this. And yeah, that was that. So Tommy Jarvis, who was watching this, um, sees like these events go down, and it starts to kind of traumatize him a little bit. And then we meet these kids, um, and also Duke, who is one of the paramedics, believes that this is a harmless prank. And we meet and then at night we meet these night greasers you would see like in the 1950s, Vinny and Pete, um, and the car breaks down, and Vinny's trying to fix it, and Pete isn't doing much to help, but he's just acting like a huge asshole. So he goes to take a dump in the woods, and Vinny's trying to fix the car, um, and Jason pops up, and he kills Vinny. Um, I don't really remember how he kills him. He grabbed like some sort of like firework and stuck it in his mouth, and he exploded. And then when Pete comes back, he just thinks he's still fixing the car, and he goes to go in the car. And when the car finally gets working, he's happy about it, and he ends up cutting Vinny's throat. And later on in the day, um, Sheriff Tucker, Deputy Dodd, um, and Roy, um, all attend to this. And Roy's being very suspicious about this, like, you're asking me or something, but Sheriff just kind of ignores him. And then later on in the night, we meet um, Lana um, and her boyfriend Billy, and they're about to go out and party and do drugs and stuff like that. And Lana closes up the restaurant. I did like the scene where she popped out her tits for obvious reasons, but she's getting ready and she overhears a commotion go down. And when she goes outside, when she goes to see what it is, we see that a cat jumps from like the ceiling under the ground. This cat did not look like it jumped. It looked like this cat also was thrown. It was hilarious. But Billy um, is being very impatient. He does some cocaine, and when he goes to get out of the car, Jason pops up behind him and kills him with an axe. I didn't like this scene at all because when he kills him with the axe, it like does shows Billy's reaction to it, and it just looked really bad and just not that good at all. I really wouldn't recommend it. Um, and then he ends up when Lana comes out, she thinks like Billy just disappeared and went somewhere, so she goes to do cocaine, and Jason pops up again, and Jason kills her with the axe as well. Um, and the mayor arrives and wants the sheriff um, to know if he to get a suspect about this because this is supposed to be a small town, and you're ruining it. This is supposed to be a small town, and all these murders are happening. So sheriff thinks he has a victim. It's Jason Voorhees, and the mayor doesn't believe him because he believes that Jason's dead. That his ashes have been burned, and he was smoking a cigar, and he throws the ashes to his ashtray in his face, and he says to find out who's doing these murders, or because your ass depends on it. And Sheriff Tucker gets pissed and throws the ashtray at the wall, and it breaks into a million pieces because it's made of glass, and when you throw glass at the wall, it tends to break. Um, then the next day, everybody's kind of adjusting back to, everyone's kind of trying to adjust to the events they just saw, and Tommy, you can see, is um, still messed up from um, Jason. He's still having nightmares about the events, and he keeps thinking that he sees Jason, and he takes medication to kind of forget about it. But then he'll go out the window at some point, thinks he sees him there. He thinks he sees him through the mirror, and when Tommy comes down for breakfast, one of the kids, I forget his name off the top of my head, comes down and scares him, and in a Halloween mask, and when he takes it off, Tommy beats the crap out of him and flips him through a table, and Dr. Mark ends up having to hold Tommy back. And then later on in the day, Tina and Eddie sneak into the woods to have sex. And we also meet, earlier in the film too, we had met Ethel's farmhand, who helps them do the farm work. And they were just still being just as annoying as they always were. And when they were having sex, Raymond, who was the farm man, was watching from the woods, and Jason pops up and kills him. We don't actually ever really see Jason either. It just kind of, like I said, just like the first two films, and in the beginning of the third one, it just kind of shows hands and feet. So, but we're also pretty much supposed to believe that it is Jason. But he ends up killing Raymond, and Eddie goes to wash up in the creek, and Tina, Jason ends up murdering Tina by taking a pair of clippers and like cutting Tina's eyes off, which you actually didn't see on camera. But when Eddie comes back, we see that her eyes aren't there, so that's what we're supposed to assume happened. And then what happens is Eddie gets freaked out about this, and then Jason straps Eddie to a tree, and he has a stick behind him, and he twists the stick around. I thought those were nice kills. And nice creative kills. I will say that some of the deaths they did in here were pretty creative. Um, and then Reggie wants to go see his brother, Demon, and his grandfather gives him permission. So Reggie, Pamela, and Tommy all go to see because Dr. Mulk um, wants Tommy to tag along with him, and they go to Demon's house. Um, who I don't really know. Like, if I'm assuming he was a deadbeat brother because he lives like in a um, trailer park, and I'm just I'd imagine that yeah, he's just an absolute deadbeat. We meet his girlfriend Anita, and while they're there, Tommy doesn't go in and talk to him, but Junior is riding a motorcycle and gets into his face and consistently taunts Tommy, saying that his mom's gonna cut him, and Tommy beats the crap out of him. So this causes Pamela and um Reggie to leave. Um, and when they leave, um, Demon, who was eating an enchilada, gets the run, so he ends up having to go into the porta potty, and they joke around in the porta potty, but then find that um, and she was shaking the stuff, porta potty and stuff, and they were sitting, and when he doesn't hear a response, he opens the porta potty and sees that her throat's been slit and she's dead. So this ends up freaking out Demon, and Jason stabs him with a staff through the porta potty, um, which was a nice kill. And um, then later on at the Hubbard farm, Junior is riding his motorcycle and absolutely complaining that he got the crap kicked out of him. It was very annoying. And Ethel wasn't listening to him, and Jason cuts his head off, um, and the motorcycle still went because his body stayed on the motorcycle. And Ethel, who was making stew, Jason pops up through the window and stabs her, and her face falls into the her head falls into the stew. Um, so then what happens is everybody arrives back at camp, and they reveal that Dr. Mulk and Eddie and um, Tina haven't come back in a while because Mulk went to look for Tina and Eddie. So um, pretty much Pam goes out to go look for them, and they yeah, and she goes to look for Tommy, which was weird because I thought Tommy went back with him, but I guess he didn't. I guess Tommy took off, and Reggie falls asleep. And doing this, Jason comes in and murders Jake, Robin, and Violet. He ends up murdering Jake by just killing him with an axe, and Tina and Robin ends up going to bed. And when she turns around, she sees that um, someone's been murdered in her bed, and Jason stabs her right through the bed, like we do the scene that they did in the 1 and 3, and then um, Violet, who was trying to outdo Crispin Glover's bad dance in the last film, but it was pretty bad dancing, but it was not Crispin Glover bad dancing. It wasn't Crispin Glover entertaining, but it was still pretty entertaining. Jason comes in and stabs her in the gut with an axe because he doesn't like her dancing either. So Reggie, who's the most annoying kid actor in the world, um, wakes up and goes in Tommy's room, and Tommy sees that, and he sees a ton of dead bodies in Tommy's room. So he freaks out, thinking that Tommy's been doing all these murders. And Pam comes in and sees these murders, and they run away. And Jason bursts through the door, um, and everybody they start to get all freaked out. Um, they run away. They run into the woods, and they go to warn people. Um, and they try to get to a cop, but the cop has been murdered. Um, Reggie's grandfather gets thrown through the window. We see that Mulk's been killed by Jason, which was really weird. They didn't show any of these deaths. I guess was very interesting. But they rather like devote like new actors like Lana and Bill and show their deaths instead. And Pam and Reggie get separated, and Pam's acting and Reggie's acting when they were being chased was awful. It was just really bad. And Reggie ran really fast though, and Pam's about to get caught, and she falls over, and I guess she just doesn't get up, which makes no sense because she just fell over. Wasn't so I don't know. This It really didn't make any sense that she falls over, and it wasn't like she tweaked her leg or anything. She just squalls to the bone, and Jason tries to kill her, but Reggie bursts out of the bone with a bulldozer and runs and hits Jason with it, and obviously Jason survives this, and grabs Reggie by the leg, and Reggie fights him off, and they go into the bone, and Jason looks for them, and then Pamela pops out of um, the bone, surprisingly, with a chainsaw and is about to kill Jason, but the chainsaw runs out of gas. And she didn't realize she could have just thrown the chainsaw at Jason and still used it because it's a chainsaw. Even though it doesn't work, you could still do some pretty good damage with it by hitting Jason with it. But she throws it at him and he obviously misses. And then they climb up the to the top of the bone, and Tommy walks in. And I did like this. What ruined this though was Pamela was being wicked over the top by telling Tommy to run, and her acting was just really bad, and she wouldn't shut up. But I did like the face off that Tommy and Jason had, because this was the first time that Jason and Tommy have faced off since the last film. And you could say that Tommy could have just ran away and stuff, but I think because Tommy has been traumatized by this stuff since he was a kid, seeing Jason just kind of shook him a little bit. So I thought this was pretty believable. And he doesn't believe it. I think he just believes it's in his head. And he kind of has a little bit of flashbacks. And Jason cuts Tommy, and he cuts him right in the ribs. And Jason's about to finish him off, but Tommy stabs him. It was supposed to be in the nuts, but he didn't really exactly stab him in the nuts. Um, and he climbs up the ladder and goes up to the you know um, top of the bone, and Jason follows him, and it was very anticlimactic, not gonna lie. And Tommy's just down for the count. Jason's looking for Reggie and Pam. Tommy just pops up out of no, not Tommy. Reggie just pops up out of nowhere, and that was very anticlimactic. Jason tries to break through to get him, but Pam hits him with some sort of stick, and um, you know, Pam's about to fall onto onto a land on a halo, which is like pretty much like a bed of nails. I'm just gonna say, um, and um, Reggie like does some sort of swing, jumps off one of the support beams of the bone and takes down Jason, and Jason fell, which wasn't believable at all. And we find out that Jason was able to hold on though and tries to grab Reggie and pull him down. And Tommy grabs his knife and stabs Jason, and he falls down and lands on the bed of on the hello below, and um dies. And then when they look down, we find out that the killer wasn't Jason. It was Will. It was Roy Burns all along, and that was really disappointing. That the killer wasn't Jason. Um, and obviously, people say that the series shouldn't really be defined by Jason. Um, but that's just bullcrap because it just really made no sense that you would take Jason out of the film, out of the franchise. The Friday the 13th series is all about Jason pretty much, um, and you just took him completely out of the film. When you found out the killer wasn't Jason, it really ruined the film. It was really disappointing. Um, and the fans agreed because the next movie they had to make Jason live to let everybody know that Jason was going to be in it. Um, At least, though, I'll say this: this wasn't like the situation they had with Halloween 3, where Michael Myers, where it had completely nothing to do with Michael Myers. At least they had the Tommy aspect in it, and we would find out, pretty much that um, Sheriff Tucker came in and told Pam in the hospital that um, what's his name? Joey Burns was Roy Burns' son, and for some reason he just kept it a secret. I don't know why. He didn't really go into the detail about that, and he wanted vengeance on his son's death, so he used the Jason thing to cover it up. I guess it makes sense, but it's just really done really bad. And it just really made no sense that they did this. The fact that they took Jason out of the series was just really bad idea. And then, but yeah, so we found out that it wasn't Jason. And if the only reason I would be alright with it, not being Jason, is if Tommy was the killer. That actually would have made sense because, of all the murders caught up with Tommy, and they made it look like it was even going to be Tommy because he wasn't seen for a while. Um, but it wasn't Tommy either. It really should have been Tommy. If it was going to be anybody, that wasn't Jason. Because Tommy, I think people would have, well, people probably still would have been pissed. I would at least understand it, but whatever. What happens is next is Tommy has a nightmare of um, Pam coming into the room and he kills her and he manically laughs and we find out it's a nightmare and then he gets, he has another hallucination of Jason, but he kind of accepts it. He's not haunted by it, and he takes off the mask that Rob made and puts the new Halloween mask on. And Pam comes in to check on Tom, but she hears him jump out the window. But then we find out that he actually didn't. She closes the door, and Jason's like about to kill her, but we don't actually see him kill her. And that was the film. Um, you could tell I didn't really care about this film because I didn't really put much effort into reviewing it. Um, I don't think this film is bad just because Jason's not in the film. Um, I just don't really like this film. Um, Jason being in the film, not Jason not being in the film is a huge part of it, but Tommy's even in the film, and the film doesn't even really feel like it's about Tommy really all that much. While he's a main factor in the film, and his craziness gets the best of him, they didn't really do as much with it as they could have. They really could have done some creative stuff with that. If the killer wasn't going to be Jason, it really should have been Tommy. Um, flat out. I would have been a little bit more accepting, and at least would have made sense. But the fact, the fact that they even made any more Friday the 13th makes no sense. So, whatever. But then it gets even worse because I think some of the acting was really bad with, obviously, too, we had to deal with the annoying Reggie character in this film, but, um, um, but, um, I don't even know how to say, Melanie Kinnaman, performance as Pam Roberts was just bad. It was really bad. Um, the way she would her acting in this movie was just awful. Um, and a lot of these, they had a lot of annoying characters in it. Had a lot of annoying scenes in it. Some of the scenes just like felt anticlimactic. Um, and the storyline just really wasn't all that good. I think just Jason not being in the film is just like the final death blow. Like I talked about before, if it was Tommy that was the killer, if it wasn't going to be Jason, I think I would have been more accepting of this film. So I don't like this. So this film just really isn't good. It spits in the face of Friday the 13th fans too. So it really isn't good. Um, they don't even use Jason's music really, which maybe should have been a dead giveaway that it wasn't Jason, especially since the mask is different. And maybe because I watch it back now and I know it's not Jason, it really pisses me off, but this film just really isn't good anyways. Now, I will say this, like I talked about before, this movie right here is not as bad as I thought it was. I feel like this movie probably gets a little bit too much hated because Jason isn't in it. It's not a complete bust, and it's not even the worst Friday the 13th film, ironically enough, which is very odd. Um, Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, and Jason Takes Manhattan. Well, actually, I can't really say Jason Takes Manhattan. I don't really remember that one as well. But Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X are both worse than this movie. So it's not the worst film in the franchise. And it does have some stuff I like in it. I do like the creativeness of some of the kills. I actually, even though they didn't do a lot with it, I did like Tom, Tommy Jarvis's character in the film and seeing it come back because this was the first time in the Friday the 13th series, other than the second one where the main character came back just for the beginning, but where the main character was in the whole movie, and this was like the first time you got to kind of see them react afterwards, and it was kind of interesting. So, um, this movie has some good things in it, but just a lot of bad in it. Um, so if I had to rate this movie, I would give it Um, probably just a solid D. It's not good. Um, it's not quite a D minus. It's just a solid D. It's not a good film. Um, it sucks and it's just not good. It's not even It's not even slightly below an average film. So it's a D. But let's go over how this movie did in the box office. It made two $21.9 million. Um, and it was released to 1,759 screens. It was number one in its opening weekend, um, with 8,300. Sorry, 8,003,000. So it grossed $8,032,883, and it beat um, Porky's Revenge, Masks, Barry Gordy's, The Last Dragon, um, Baby the Secret of the Lost Legend. But then by its theoretical one, it earned $21,930,418. And it was number 41 at the on the list of 1985's top box office earned, and it faced competition for the first half of the year against horror releases Cat's Eye and Life Force. And the critics tore this movie apart, and I'm surprised the fans didn't. The fans don't really think this is a bad film. There are those fans out there that do. The fans kind of think this film's a mixed bag. Some people think it doesn't get the love it deserves. It's not that bad, and some people just hate this movie like me. So I'm kind of surprised how much of a mixed bag it got, but whatever. Um, but then but I definitely think fans had to have been pissed off that there was no Jason at the time it was released, because literally the next film is Jason Lives, so they pretty much had to confirm that Jason was coming back in the next film. So yeah, this film really isn't good. Don't check it out. If you want to, if there's anyone to skip, this is definitely one of them to skip. But let's go over the cast. John Shepard made his debut as Tommy Jarvis. I thought he did a good job as Tommy Jarvis. Corey Feldman was in it for a cup of coffee, and he was also Tommy Jarvis as when he was younger. Melanie Kidman did Pam Roberts, who did a really bad job playing Pam Roberts. So, Shavar Ross, who was a pretty decent size actor, played Reggie. Richard Young played Dr. Matthew's Letter. Dick Wellman played Roy Burns. Um, Tina Helm played Violet. Juliet Cummins played Robin. But also, now that I think about it, if Roy Burns must be like superhuman because he got hit with a bulldozer and was able to somehow get up from that and go kill people. That made no sense. But anyhow, Marco St. John played Sheriff Tucker. Julia Cummins played Robin. I don't know if I said that. Jerry Palavin played Jake. Carol Locatel played Ethel Hubbard. And Dr. Sue Voorhees, which is kind of Debbie Sue Voorhees, which It's kind of ironic that there's a Voorhees from here. Played Tina. Vernon Washington played George. John Robert Dixon played Eddie. Juan Solan played Junior Hubbard. Um, Migo A. Nuns Jr. played Demon. Jake Fields played um, Anita. Rebecca Wood played Lana. Robert D. Simon played Billy. Corey Parker played Pete. Anthony Bowley played Vinny. William Caskey Swan played Duke. Dominic um, Brasha played Joey Burns. Mark Cherney played Vic. Richard Lineback played Deputy Dodd. Rick Manessy played Mayor Cobb, who's the mayor. I already said that. And Tom Morga played Jason Voorhees. But John Hogg did some appearances as Jason because Morgie was unavailable when some of the scenes were shot. And yeah, this was the first film and only film that Jason had an altered mask and stuff like that. So whatever. That's pretty much the end of this movie and this review. This movie sucks. Like I said, solid. It gets the big D. But that's pretty much the end of this review. Thank you guys for watching this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments what you thought of this movie. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell. That way every time I upload a video, you guys get the notifications for it. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers YouTube channel. That's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.